and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Patreon-sponsored review time again, and once more we're brought to the New 52. Can you believe that it's been almost 6 years since that started? I remember just hearing the news about it right around the same time I did a review of Ultimatum and made a spiel about reboots and continuity and stuff. It doesn't feel like that much time has really passed, and yet here we are in the midst of DC trying to save itself and basically admitting that they screwed the pooch with it. No! Really? But yeah, almost 6 years now. Tempus fugit, am I right? But while I've covered the New 52 in various ways, from some of the more well-publicized disasters like Red Hood and the Outlaws, the ruination of my favorite team with the culling, or that odd little video I did earlier this month wherein I deconstructed all the various problems with it. You know, one of the great things about Z-Bots is that they were held together by a single screw, so if you had duplicates, you could mix and match a few of them to create whole new ones, like these guys right here. But one of the things I haven't really gotten into is the critique that DC was trying to make everything like Batman. I admit there's probably an argument to be made there, and equally an argument that it's not the case, since what Batman actually is open to interpretation. But I can definitely tell you one thing is true that's tied into it. Batman oversaturation. During one of my Clone Saga reviews, I mentioned that there was a point when there were 4 Spider-Man books. Well, apparently DC thought they'd embrace that hold my beer meme and upped the ante. 4 Batman titles. Batman, Batman the Dark Knight, Batman and Robin, and Detective Comics. 2 Justice League books where he was supposed to be a member of 2 different teams, and 7 books featuring Batman spin-off characters, either in a title role or as part of a team. Fortunately, I'm pretty sure that this has been cut back a bit in recent times with Rebirth and the years following the New 52's launch, but criminy, a fourth of the 52 books consisted of Batman or Batman peripherals. Not to diminish those individual characters or anything like that, but once upon a time you could actually keep track of the continuity of books and have a timeline of events for a character. Nowadays, good luck figuring out where the hell any particular story falls in relation to others. This is one of those issues of continuity nightmares that discourages new readers. And of course, when you have that many books, some are almost guaranteed to be garbage, which is why we're here today. Let's dig into Batman, The Dark Knight number 1 to 3.
Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. Brodsky, you're not the smartest. Life out, you're not an artist. Anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he's a man punch, wears a birdie hat. Linkara, he has a magic gun. Where'd he purchase that? Linkara, coins, robots, Amazon and trucks. Linkara, this comic sucks. Linkara.
Reading from a trade, so no look at the covers, although I'd likely skip it anyway since we have 3 books to look at today and they're not anything that interesting to talk about. Well, except for one thing. Much like the culling, the trade's cover features a review quote. The architects of Batman The Dark Knight have put their full efforts into creating a title full of blockbuster content. And like the culling, it's a quote taken out of context. The review was basically saying the book is brainless, with the most interesting thing about it being action scenes. The final score for issue 3, where the quote was taken from, was mediocre. I don't know, maybe whoever assembled the trade was just a big fan of Fury Road. I should get out of the way right now that out of the 4 New 52 Batman-specific titles at launch, this had the least reason to exist. Detective Comics is just a long-running staple, and fortunately Rebirth restored its proper numbering so that we'll see issue 1000 in the next few years. Batman just makes sense as a solo title of his own adventures, and Batman and Robin shows Batman as a mentor and in a partner dynamic. Each can have different types of stories that they tell. Batman the Dark Knight, though? Yeah, this feels like it exists to either A, give these specific creators something to work on while they wait for a better assignment, or B, trying to capitalize on the title, what with the then successful Dark Knight film, the then upcoming Dark Knight Rises film, and just the general popularity of Dark Knight Returns. Admittedly, that's just speculation on my part, but it's not like what we get in this book justifies its existence. We open, of course, in Gotham City and its numerous spotlights attempting to blind any incoming air traffic. Or maybe with those dirigibles, this was supposed to be London during the Blitz. Batman begins narrating as he flies around in a batplane.
Fear is a cannibal that feeds upon itself.
So it destroys itself? Great, no problem.
It lives in every dark shadow, waits around every corner.
Fear sounds more like a guy trying to sell us a stolen Rolex.
It can be in two places at once, on the path ahead, yet somehow always behind you.
See, that just seems to be describing me.
I'm not even in front of you.
Fear hides in every decision, questioning your every move.
Fear needs to really stop micromanaging.
You are the one who gives it life. You are the parent of your own fear. And you haven't been making your child support payments. That's where I come in.
Batman is leaping down from the plane to change back into Bruce Wayne as he continues to ramble on about fear until we head onto the next page, where it turns out his fear spiel is actually a speech he's giving at an event.
Now, I may be a man with a substantial amount of money and the willpower to spend it. I may be fashionably late from time to time.
And people laugh at that.
But I'm not cut out to be the parent of a cannibal.
Did Bruce pay some people to be plants in the audience and they laughed before he actually told the joke?
I am never afraid, and I never will be. Except of rock and roll. We should always be afraid of that.
Bruce's schmoozing during the party is interrupted by a lieutenant from the Gotham PD who wants to talk about Bruce's involvement with Batman. Time for backstory! Shortly before the New 52 launched, writer Grant Morrison was attempting a revamp of the Batman stable of books involving what was called Batman Incorporated. Part of that was Bruce stating publicly that he was funding Batman's crime-fighting activities and would begin basically franchising Batman, setting up crime fighters across the world. This was part of the premise at the time of another New 52 Bat spin-off called Batwing. The Lieutenant, Forbes, is pissed off at Bruce over all this.
Let me tell you what I know, Mr. Wayne.
I know even someone with your resources couldn't solve the logistics of financing Batman and his cronies unless you had help. Yes, what would the owner and CEO of a successful multi-billion-dollar company know about managing resources and logistics? That help's gotta come from inside Gotham PD. Someone high up. So he couldn't finance and run Batman's operations, but a high-level cop in an overworked, understaffed, barely operating police department could? I think this was more confusion about the New 52. Much like how people didn't know if they were previous Titans teams before that point, maybe the writers weren't certain if Batman's involvement with Commissioner Gordon was a public thing? I don't know, the point is he's pissy, but he's interrupted by the woman running the party. New character Jaina Hudson. Turns out this whole thing is a charity function for those affected by floods in Karachi. So naturally, Bruce gave a speech about fear being a cannibal. Forbes leaves, metaphorically shaking his fist in impotent rage.
So, you're Tom Hudson's daughter. I knew your father just before they made him a diplomatic attaché to Mumbai. Call me Bruce. You know, your dad was always full of surprises, but marrying a Bollywood actress...
You've got the backstory, now run!
Yeah, the page is basically an exposition dump, and a pretty clumsy one. You know, given the situation, she could have given her backstory in a speech, too. Maybe intercut it with scenes of Batman doing things. But yeah, her dad married a Bollywood actress.
Over here in the States, we call it out-punting his coverage. Meant in the nicest possible way, of course. What I mean is that your mom was too good for your dad. Meant in the nicest possible way, of course.
Tell me, do you think you could out-punt me, Bruce? I want to date someone who's better than you, Bruce. What's Superman's number? Yeah, this is just a weird way of flirting. But in any event, after a party montage, we cut over to Arkham Asylum, where there's a massive riot going on. A lot of Batman's rogues gallery are escaping, and 65 guards are trapped inside. And that number is probably going to start decreasing, as we see lesser-known villain Ragdoll tossing a dude and emptying out his strawberry filling. Inmates start managing to get through the front door, but fortunately the cops are there. as well as Batman, who arrives suddenly on top of a police van. And based on this angle and how huge he is compared to the door of the van, I'm pretty sure Batman has either become a giant or he's entered a pocket universe where everyone is smaller than him. Either way, he looks like he's kinda pissed off at the reader. Check it out, he's talking to the cops below him, but he's looking at us!
65 men. 65 families. It's a new reality show concept I want to try out. 65 families each have to adopt a fully grown man.
He heads inside, saying they can tell him what happened later. After punching out Ragdoll, out of nowhere, he asks where Two-Face is. Dude, we saw, like, Mr. Freeze and Killer Croc in that batch. Why are you focusing on Two-Face when a serial killer like Zaz or somebody should be probably at the top of the list to punch? Anyway, Two-Face was in maximum security and didn't come out with the others.
Fear is a cannibal. A goblin.
Oh my god! Nilbog spelled backwards is cannibal!
An unruly tyrant armed with a bludgeon of doubt. At its hip, a six-shooter of despair, and on its back, a broadsword of anxiety. Back in its lair, it has a rocket launcher of indecisiveness. But you are the Batman. You are never afraid.
Boy, I hope this isn't still part of his speech, or the audience is gonna start getting really confused.
Fear lives around every corner. So do you. Fear and I are engaged in a real estate war. That's where you have the upper hand, Batman. That's right, Batman. You refer to yourself in the third person. Only cool superheroes do that. You know where fear is, but it never knows when you're coming. I'm gonna throw Fear the best surprise birthday party.
This pretentiousness gets interrupted by the guards with Batman, who are now under orders to shoot anything that moves, hence why they suddenly open fire on a random Playboy bunny who appears in the halls. Yeah, it's a new villain, whom we'll get to later, but this is our first impression of her, running around what looks like a grated floor in high heels and partially bent over to show off her thong-clad ass. And I gotta say, that poofy little bunny tail probably rides up something fierce considering there's not a lot of material to hang on to back there. But yeah, the cops shoot at her.
That's not him! Hold your fire! I mean, if that had been my old friend Harvey Dent, I would have let you shoot him.
None of them know who the hell that is, but Batman suspects she's trying to break Two-Face out by using the riot as a distraction. Not sure how the hell they hope to do that, since you have to assume with a riot like this, the entire place is surrounded and all known entrances and exits guarded. But then again, this is Arkham Asylum, which leaks out its inmates like a squeezed sponge. Batman calls out to the half-naked woman to surrender, but then calls out to Two-Face to show himself? I don't know, maybe she went into his cell. It's not made clear in the artwork. Speaking of the cell, it explodes, with Two-Face's coin bouncing out of it.
Of course! Scratched coin! You're behind this riot!
Oh no, what comes out is so much stupider. A massively muscular, shredded clothes-wearing Two-Face steps out of the cell. And hey, if Batman was a giant before, you can imagine how big Two-Face is.
Two-Face no longer, Batty Boy. You can call me One-Face now.
What have you done with Harvey and Scary Face? They've done nothing to you.
Like, using the college humor clip is all I can do. This is one of the dumbest moments ever, not only in the New 52, but all of Batman. Much like with Red Hood and the Outlaws, I had people asking me about this as soon as it came out, and really, what is there to say? I saw some people thinking this was some serious new status quo for Two-Face. Leaving aside how hard it is for comics to have a status quo anymore, people thought this was gonna stick? That Two-Face would be a huge brute who called himself One-Face now, despite clearly still having half of his face melted? The fact that One-Face is a stupid friggin' name because everybody has one face already? That's like naming a villain Breathes Oxygen. It's kind of assumed already. Like, what is this? What is the point of this? And as I often have to remind you all, somebody had to approve this before it happened. There were several steps where this could have been stopped, but nobody thought that this would be a bad idea. Moving on to issue 2, we begin with Batman getting his ass kicked, or possibly a Batman-shaped balloon filled with red paint.
You are not afraid of pain, not afraid of death. Afraid, maybe, of living. I never got to take a ski vacation, probably in my top 10 regrets.
Just Wow. Yeah, overly poetic sure matches a book featuring a dude calling himself One-Face. This is some brutal fight stuff, by the way. I know superhero comics by nature tend to have overly exaggerated fights, but geez, this is a bit extreme. The way it's presented really does not give the impression the dude could survive this.
I learned something today, Batman. Something I didn't know, but I'm willing to share. Do you know how much money you could save by switching to Progressive Auto Insurance? It's fear that stops us from really living. But now I'm gonna ride that roller coaster.
He goes on to say that the loss of fear is released from inhibitions, blah blah blah. Batman the Animated Series did an episode about that, and it was far better than this.
It's coming, Batman. A world full of people like me who have finally woken up. Soon we will all be One-Face.
However, whatever did this causes him to bleed from the eyes and nose and finally fall unconscious. We cut to some time later where, yeah, on top of police headquarters, where Batman and Gordon are talking and the bat signal is shining.
Gee, Forbes, I wonder who it could possibly be who is helping Batman.
In any event, they're talking about the aftermath of the riot. Many are dead, both inmates and security personnel. Many of the ones still alive were apparently injected with something. One says he spotted a white rabbit, which gets Batman's attention.
Did anyone mention seeing a girl?
Please tell me you're not serious. I mean, Dr. McCoy tried that same trick on me.
I just saw a large rabbit.
That's pretty good, Bones. All right, I got one for you. The rabbit was followed by a little blonde girl, right?
As a matter of fact, yes.
I'm going to assume the 3 security guards who were with Batman when he saw the villain were killed by Two-Face. I mean, we saw some bodies, but it wasn't confirmed they were dead. Gordon brings up Forbes and his investigation in relation to him. It seems Gordon was recently taken off duty for some reason and only given temporary reinstatement. Although I have no idea what the hell this is in relation to, and this is probably not a good thing to be putting into the second issue of a comic where you're trying to introduce this to new readers, allude to events that they have no idea what you're talking about. It's just my luck the one guy I can rely on dresses up like a bat so he can get his ribs busted in a dark alley. You're the only friend I've got right now. And he's gone. Bat Dick. We see this comic's version of the Batmobile, and yeesh. It looks like a modified version of the Tim Burton Batmobile, with huge exposed tires and a bunch of armor plating on the front. It's not altogether terrible, but it's not aesthetically pleasing like a lot of other Batmobiles. Alfred contacts Batman to let him know there are reports coming in of more people being affected by strange injections, much like the inmates at Arkham were.
Anything on the girl?
A half-naked girl in white lingerie. No doubt the World Wide Web is replete with such images, Master Bruce. I shall do my utmost to sort through them all. Batman seems to smile at this remark, but I'm not entirely sure why. I get it's supposed to be a joke, but wouldn't it be funnier if he had sarcastically said, a half-naked girl in white lingerie? Well, I'll check the web, but I don't think there are many of those on there. Ah well, in any event, he's analyzed the drugs used on the inmates at Arkham, and it's similar to the fear toxin used by Scarecrow. Again, just watch the episode Never Fear from the animated series. Good stuff. Jeffrey Combs is Scarecrow, and a creepy-ass design for him. Does not contain One-Face. Alfred lists off some appointments that he has as Bruce Wayne, but Batman cancels all but dinner with Jaina Hudson. We cut over to the Gotham Bank, where the police have surrounded the building, only to see both Robin and Nightwing being thrown through the window by, of all people, the ventriloquist.
You broke my doll. It was a collector's item!
On the off chance you hadn't heard about him, the ventriloquist is a slightly lesser-known Batman villain by the name of Arnold Wesker, whose psychosis creates an alternate personality in the form of his stereotypical mobster dummy called Scarface to contrast with his own meek, subservient personality. This page is just another example of really crappy writing. With the Scarface puppet destroyed, Wesker picks up the corpse of a cop and uses it as a puppet.
One of these children broke my doll. What do we do with naughty boys? Tear out their spines! Make them squeal!
Now look, maybe you can stretch that whatever is beefing him out like this could make him less timid, but his entire thing is that he thinks the Scarface puppet is real. He does not refer to it as a doll. But then that's followed up by another bit of out-of-character dialogue from Robin.
I think we're gonna need a little backup.
Once again, in case you were unaware, this is Damian Wayne, aka Bruce's son. Yeah, Bruce has a kid of his own, long story. But the thing about Damian is that he is brash, cocky, and so arrogant as to rival his dad. The idea that he would want backup, especially against the friggin' ventriloquist, shows that Paul Jenkins really doesn't get him. Or, you know, maybe we need another example of Batman being so super duper awesome, since he survived the beatdown in Arkham despite no evidence of injury afterwards. But whatever, we get a montage of other Bat-related characters being attacked by roided-out villains, because what we really needed was Clock King looking beefy. Batman goes to Two-Face, who is strapped down to a table after the incident in Arkham, and has otherwise stayed quiet about it. Batman wants answers.
And how is the girl involved? You must be seeing things, Batman. Maybe you've been burning the candle at both ends, taking a little extra something to stay on the case. You know that stuff will rot your brain. Look, just because I kept some of the Floronic Man's hemp stash doesn't mean it's affecting me, Harvey.
After that bit goes nowhere, Batman learns that the Joker has taken a commuter train hostage, so he goes to investigate that. Alfred confirms to him that the drug removes fear from someone's mind, but it comes at a price. The human body rejects the drug's effects and causes increased blood flow to the eyes and nose. Which is why they Hulk out! That's just hard science right there. On board the train, the Joker's henchmen seem to be dead for no reason. That's when the villain, known as the White Rabbit, makes her formal appearance, inviting Batman to chase her. Let's just get this out of the way now. 1, she's Jaina Hudson. It's not even subtle about it, what with her earlier suggesting Bruce chase her at the party. Maybe it was thought if they made it so obvious it'd throw people off, but no, she is indeed her. 2, she is a terrible villain. I'm all for inventing new characters and villains, since you can run a character into the ground if you're not careful, but White Rabbit is lazy and baffling. Why is she dressed like that? No, seriously, in-universe, what the hell is her justification for dressing like that? Hell, out of universe, what's the excuse for her dressing like that? Sex appeal? For crying out loud, give me 30 seconds and I bet I could find a sexy nude Playboy bunny picture online if it was just fat material, so that would just be dumb. We never learn her motivation. Maybe the creators were intending to reveal that before the series was canceled, but yeah, no. Why did she inject the criminals with this serum? Why does she want to be chased? Not a frickin' clue. She and her stupid storyline disappeared from the book after Paul Jenkins left at issue 7. Anyway, Batman does indeed chase her down the train cars.
Wait, I need to talk to you. How do you get your thong to stay in place so well? Mine keeps shifting around uncomfortably.
Great piece of dialogue there, Bats. Try telling her about how you've totally conquered fear, dude. That'll get her to stop. We end issue 2 with her ending up in the arms of an overly muscular Joker.
Wait till they get a load of me. I'll really bring this book to a screeching halt.
By the way, at the same time this book was coming out, the Joker was getting his face cut off. I'm not even kidding, that was a thing at the time. And this is why we can't have kids getting into comics anymore, you know. Anywho, issue 3 picks up once again with Batman getting his ass kicked by one of his supervillains who has enhanced strength. You know, Batman, maybe if you had a little more fear, this wouldn't be happening as often.
Stop me if you've heard this one before. A bat flies into a speeding train and dies. I didn't say it was funny.
You know what is funny, though? The idea of someone seeing The Dark Knight in theaters and then picking up this comic because they thought they'd be similar. That's hilarious.
You're not supposed to be here, Joker. I thought you decided to retire. Alfred said you went to live on a farm.
No idea what the hell that retirement thing is in reference to. However, it doesn't matter anyway because it's not actually the Joker. It's Clayface, who's imitating the Joker because, shut up, we don't have to have reasons for things to happen in comics. The drug finally wears off and he bleeds out the eyes. Admittedly, not sure how Clayface's biology works, but whatever. He collapses on top of Batman, allowing White Rabbit to once again bend over and say she likes him. Yeah, I mean, he's so sexy, what with how he bleeds out the mouth and has giant guys fall on top of him. Hot. She decides to inject the drug into him next, but then notices, of all things, the Flash running alongside the train.
You got lucky this time, sexy bat. But remember,
Alice never did catch the white rabbit. Though if you keep at it, maybe I'll let you get close. She gets up and walks away, once again inviting him to chase her. In the time it took for you to say and do that, you could have injected him twice. You suck. The Flash comes in. Batman, your message came in 10 minutes ago. Got here as fast as I could. Ah yes, Batman is well known for calling in fellow Justice League members when it involves the Joker or criminals in his city. What happened to you?
A girl was involved. Did you see her leave?
Nope. I think you took one too many to the head. What the hell is it with characters in this series not believing that a woman exists? The train is pulled in by the police, one of whom contacts Lieutenant Forbes to let him know there's no sign of Batman or Clayface on the train, since apparently Clayface regularly uses henchmen and they are well known. News to me, but whatever, this story is kind of dumb and nonsensical. Forbes is pissed that Batman isn't around and involved in this, since he wants to find out who tipped him off about the hijacking to begin with. But is interrupted by Batman dropping Clayface's body onto his car. Batman, I know it's you. I know you're up there.
You're a regular Sherlock Holmes, Forbes.
Given the bizarre Clayface pretending to be Joker reveal, I don't trust anything anymore. Frankly, that could be the Flash right there for all we know. Batman comes down to him and warns Forbes to stay away from him and his people.
If you mess with me, I'll find you and you'll never see me coming. If you compromise my work, I'll knock you down so quickly you'll think you traveled backwards in time.
I'll knock you down so you'll think you traveled back in time? What? I don't know, maybe that's in relation to him doing it so quickly, but yeah, that's an awkward threat. Is this what it's all about, Batman? You're running protection for rich little turds like Bruce Wayne?
Bruce Wayne means nothing to me. I'm Batman with or without him. I am the day!
I thought you were the night.
I jumped so high I time traveled into the morning.
We cut to the dinner between Bruce and Jaina. It's pretty shallow banter, so I won't bore you with any of it. Bruce is not an idiot and spots the similarities between her and the White Rabbit, but he gets a text from Alfred confirming the White Rabbit was spotted a few minutes ago, which means they totally can't be the same person. Yeah, spoilers, they are. She has some weird superpower that allows her to duplicate herself into a Caucasian lady in her underwear. I don't get it, and I don't care. Once again, though, the dialogue is just baffling and stupid.
You know, you remind me of someone. Do you have a sister, perhaps?
Why, Mr. Wayne, what kind of girl do you take me for? And here I was thinking you were a respectable citizen. How rude, asking if I have siblings! Later, Bruce is once again analyzing the serum that causes all this, and once again, everybody is so concerned with the no fear thing as opposed to the hyper steroids. The fact that nobody brings up them going all Liefeldian is just bizarre. In any event, further chemical analysis reveals a substance found only in a rare plant called a virgin star cactus, connecting it to poison ivy. However, Alfred points out that in the New 52 continuity, Poison Ivy has become more of an anti-hero who works alongside the Birds of Prey team. Batman thinks she may be doing this unwillingly, so he decides to head after her with the Flash. They head to a lab of hers, which is of course overrun with plants, as well as small traces of the serum. The Flash pricks his thumb on one of the thorns, and Batman quickly tells him he has to start running.
She put the toxins on the thorns. There's no time. It's going to enter your bloodstream. But if you run...
My heart rate may speed up enough so that I never metabolize the toxin.
What? No, I just meant you could get a Band-Aid on it quicker than me having to find one on my belt. Never remember where I put the damn things.
The Flash runs off, and so our comic ends with Batman calling out to Poison Ivy, only to find a room once again overrun with plants, some obviously having broken through the walls. Well, after One Face and the Joker reveal, clearly this is the shocking image that's cliffhanger-worthy for us. These comics suck! While certainly not the worst out there, and the art is actually pretty decent for the most part, the writing is pretty bad. Dialogue seems to go nowhere at points, or as characters mention things that they seem like they're alluding to backstories that we've never seen before. Which is already a bad enough thing when you're trying to bring in new readers, but it's especially not helped when the plot is so thin, barely anything happens in 3 issues. At best, a few new characters are introduced, but I have no idea where this story is going, why it's going, going in whatever direction it's headed, and it all feels like a really early draft that someone threw together in 10 minutes. And despite all the praise given to this book as, say, blockbuster, high-action entertainment, I actually think the action is pretty crappy. Batman gets beat up a lot and only wins because his opponents fall over on their own. It's just lame, boring, and confusing. Next time, we have the result of our first ever Patreon Viewer's Choice review. So come back next week as we look at the comic chosen by patrons, The New Teen Titans Anti-Drug Giveaway number 2. I like you. You can call me One Boob from now on.